Now, you basically heard of everything that took place this morning.
Yes.
When you first heard about what happened, what was your first reaction?
Why? That was my first reaction. Why would one want to do something like that at that hour in the morning when it could have been handled much easier? For example, suppose the Ministry of Works or whoever it is involved would have gone to court, get a court order, and have it done in a proper way. But when I heard of it, and I heard of the way it was done, I thought it was a very frightening thing. First of all, why would the minister be present? There's 2 other ministers. 3 ministers are present directing the army and the police what to do. I think that's a frightful situation for this country.
Mr. Ramesh Rajmaraj made a statement that it was an abuse of power. He also stated that he's wondering if the Minister of Works, Mr. Manager, if he was consulted. Would you say that it was an abuse of power? Would you say that it was also misconduct of office as well?
Oh, it is worse than an abuse of power. It is actually, it came over as a threat. It came over as an act of vindictiveness. This is the first act of the Minister of National Security. And he is taking action against people who were in controversy with him when he was Minister of Works. So it would appear that to the ordinary public that while I was Minister of Works, you were blocking my wishes and blocking my passage or whatever. Now I'm Ministry of National Security, I shall show you. I think that's how it came over. I don't know whether it was intended that way, but that's how it came over, as an act of spite, vindictiveness, and malice.
Now, there was also the presence of the Defense Force as well. Do you think that was necessary? Because I was mentioning earlier on during the program that the Defense Force is normally called out when there's a threat to national security. So do you think
that adds to the point that I have just made? It would have been so much easier to get a court order and the police go and do their duty. The people would have known that what is going to happen. But to just pounce upon them at 5 o'clock in the morning and destroy their multis and their things they worship with and so on, it was really a threat to the whole nation to say, this is how I will deal with people who buck me.
Now, before we go to clip, now let's look at it let's try and look through the eyes of Minister Warner now. And he's saying, okay, we're trying to be on the road of progress. We're trying to develop Trinidad and Tobago. And here we have this group who is constantly breaking the law, as he stated, they're breaking the law. They do not want to abide by the law. And there are those who believe that Minister Warner is sending a strong signal to all lawbreakers, and he did nothing wrong.
It's a pity he chose these people to be his first victims. If he had arrested a drug lord first, then one could say that, yes, he was dealing with crime. Is this the greatest crime that is being committed? Have they reached the spot where they are? Have the workers, the contractors, have they reached the spot where the people are sitting? Would it not have been easier to go to court, get a court order, to have them removed, have them served with it? Wouldn't that have been a better way to do it? I would have thought so myself.
Let's go to that clip now, as I mentioned earlier on, actual scenes here where Mr. Gladstone was arrested. Then we continue our conversation. Let's see.
The man is unarmed. Big time police boy. Big time police boy. You're not supposed to be dragging a man at the unarmed. The man unarmed. Got a bandit holding it.
That is a frightening scene.
Is this the first you're seeing of the video? You saw?
Yes, it's the first I'm seeing of it. That's a frightening scene.
Minister Warner has been labeled as one of the more hard-working ministers of the People's Branch of government, despite all the allegations being leveled against him in terms of FIFA, in terms of various things. Even now, there are those who heralded this move by the Prime Minister to give him this position, stating that just as he was successful as the Minister of Works, he will bring that same success within the Ministry of Security, what Minister Sandy or Brigadier Sandy could not have done. And they applaud his hands-on approach. How do you respond to that claim that he is the hardest working minister?
First of all, one of these days, those same people who are applauding will be on their knees begging if they allow their freedom to be taken away in this kind of way. As far as being the best performing minister is concerned, this is a perception which Mr. Warner has been able to engender because of his financial resources. There are other ministers who have been working. The Minister of Agriculture has been working. The Minister or the people have been working, but Mr. Warner has, with his financial resources, been able to create the impression that he's the hardest working minister.
And that brings us to, another question in terms of the reshuffling of the cabinet. I don't know how much, when you look at the reshuffling, there are those who are saying that, to the extent that the reshuffling was done, it was necessary. Do you agree or do you disagree? Because the Prime Minister said, listen, if you're not performing, then I'm going to shift accordingly, and that is being applauded by many as well.
Okay, then if that is the reason that is given, that is what I was looking for, because I was asking, why the reshuffle? When a Prime Minister reshuffles a cabinet, it's because the minister is not performing. And you're now saying that's what she says. Well, if the minister is not performing in this ministry, why would he perform in another ministry? You see, the minister is not supposed to do things himself. The minister is supposed to get other people, the public service, to do things for him in accordance with the policy. Therefore, he must have really the quality of leadership. He must have sense of direction, know where to go, know how to persuade people, know how to... This is the qualities that a minister needs. So if a minister fails in one ministry because he lacks those qualities, how will he succeed in another ministry?
Well, in returning now to the issue with Minister Warner, the Prime Minister is saying, okay, listen, I need to do some shifting here, some analysis. Okay, listen, I need to find my best minister to deal with crime. So let me, take him from one, place him here, see what he can do here, and shift around.
No problem in that at all. But is this the way it's going to be done? That is the question. Nobody is saying that Mr. Warner mustn't do his job. Nobody is saying that at all. What they are saying is this how you are going to deal with crime? Is this the most important criminal issue in the country today? We thought that the murders were. We thought that the drug issue were. But you chose this as the first act as a minister. It sends a message. And not a message that you're going to deal with crime. This is no great crime that these people were committing. Why was it the first act? That is the thing I think is bothering people and frightening them. So that it's not a question of saying he shouldn't do his job. Is that his job? To go and stand up and direct policemen and army? Is that the job? I didn't know that was the minister's job.
Well, I think we're still waiting on, and as a point that we raised during the break, how much prior knowledge did the Prime Minister actually have about this
well, I
decision?
I doubt that Mr. Warner would take such action on so sensitive a matter without the consent, permission, and authority of the Prime Minister.
Now, one of the other arguments raised, and before we switch focus here from the reward group, if you looked at prior news stories, you looked at, there have been allegations that the group, somewhat engaged in violent activities. You're hearing reports that there were basically bombing of homes. They spoke about certain threats that were made by members of the group. You looked at the situation when the Prime Minister went in Debe and they blocked the path. So the argument being raised by the security forces. This group is dangerous. This group can potentially be a major problem for TNT if they continue with their action. Hence, what took place this morning.
Oh, you mean they are being regarded as terrorists now, are they? Is that the level to which we have promoted them to be terrorists?
Based on reports that they said they received.
Surely, if there are members of the group who are making these, against whom these allegations are being made, why doesn't the law take its course? Why aren't they arrested? Why aren't they charged and so on? If there's any foundation to those allegations. But it would appear that there is no foundation to the allegation. Nobody has been charged. Nobody has been arrested. But you're making these allegations. Threats were made. Threat must be by somebody. A report of what? Firebombing. Who made the report and who firebombed? Why didn't the law deal with that? Why do you use that as a cover to say that all of them are terrorists and therefore we are dealing with them as terrorists? I don't think that makes sense.
All right, this time we're going to take a short break. We come back and continue our conversation. Probably take a couple of your calls as well at 665-6278. That's 665-6278 right here on 7 Eyewitness News. As we continue our conversation with Mr. Basdeo Panday. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In Tobago is drastically down. Banks are already knocking on hoteliers' doors. So what's next? How are these hotels going to survive? Well, we find out in the next episode of Market to Market, and we also feature the 4-star Magdalena Grand Beach Resort.
What's up, my people? It's your boy Anil Beam. Miss me on radio? Well, guess what? The best 3 hours on radio has officially moved. It has moved to Win 101. That's right, the Beamer will be every afternoon on Win 101 from 3 till 6 p.m. Join me live. The Beamer is now officially part of the Win family. 101, 3 to 6 p.m. The Beamer is on. Moving with me.
This show also features Karan and Abba, direct from Bollywood, India. Local stars, yours truly Anil Beam, Sat Raghu and Mahindra from Guyana.
Win Communication Limited wishes to extend greetings as we celebrate 50 years of independence.
From movie previews to fashion reviews, we've got it all on The Buzz Weekly. Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Only on WINTV.
And welcome welcome back, of course, on 7 Eyewitness News. We continue our conversation with the former political leader of the UNC, Mr. Basdeo Panday. Let's take some of your calls at this time at 665-6278. That's 665-6278. We have a call on the line. A caller, pleasant good evening. You're on the air. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Mr. Basdeo Panday. Hello, Mr. Sheldon Yearwood.
Pleasant good evening to you. Welcome.
I have a question about illegal structure, because there's an illegal structure with no EMA clearance and no town and country clearance. Does that qualify as an illegal structure?
I didn't quite.
He wants to know what qualifies as a legal structure. Let's repeat what they said again, caller.
There is a structure in Canopia with no EMA clearance and with no town and country clearance.
What structure is that, sir?
The batching plant in Canopia.
Okay, that's the concrete plant.
Mr. Warner was very happy to visit and tour the facility and say it was worth eating off the floor, but I understand Town and Country and EMA directs it as an illegal structure.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Remember they told that fact.
I think he's saying here is an illegal structure.
Right.
The minister did not. He visited when he was Minister of Works. Now he's Minister of National Security. He still has done nothing about it.
And has been demolished.
Whereas he is going, yes. Yeah, that's the point I just made, I thought. Is this, the fact that these people had a camp, is that the highest criminal activity that is taking place in the society? Maybe the thing that you mentioned about the plant that is causing the death of people, maybe that is more important. But that's the point I'm making. By doing this as the first act, as a minister, sends a definite message. And that message seems to be that if you buck me, I will show you what I can do. I have the army and the police whom I can order about. That was the reason for being there. The reason for being there is to tell people I have the army and I have the police and I can order them to do what I want. Mash down your temple.
Let's get a couple more calls. 665-6278. 665-6278. Caller, a pleasant good evening. You're on the air. Welcome to the program.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Welcome.
Sheldon?
Yes, good
I am
evening.
lucky to get a calling program. Panday, I'm very lucky. You know, Sheldon, they should have had Mr. Warner there because he's the one that is fit enough to say all what took place there. And not Mr. Panday because he never said anything good about his government. It never was negative because of Mr. Banker.
All right.
What's that?
She says that caller saying that you have a tabanka.
What's that, darling? You should know what it is, apparently you know what that means very well. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's continue with your calls. 665-627. And of course, Minister Warner did respond, and we're going to bring you those details during our 7 p.m. evening edition newscast. Of course, that story is being worked on as well. Caller, you're on the air. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Sheldon.
Good evening. Welcome. Go ahead.
Good evening to Mr. Panday.
Yes, good evening, my dear.
I was one of the supporters of having Mr. Warner as National Security Minister. But I warned of his posture for extremism. I sent a message via talk show station 91.1 where I said, do not commit crime to solve crime, because I was had my reservations about this flying squad idea. And I am disappointed at the extreme actions today. I am not afraid to say that Mr. Warner was extreme and wrong in his actions. I do not condone what he did today. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Let's take another call before we respond. Caller, pleasant good afternoon. You're on the air. Welcome to 7 Eyewitness News. Go ahead.
Yes, Sheldon.
Yes, good evening.
And a pleasant evening to Mr. Panday. Mr. Panday, Mr. Warner did not only carry the army and the police, he worked with his comrades. And then Mr. Warner is telling me that 90 pounds Mr. Kubar Singh offered 300 pounds soldier in his face. And I am saying that is not true, because if it was true, Mr. Warner's cameras would have zoomed in on that and showed it to the entire nation. So I'm agreeing with you that the allegations against this poor group has to do with inciting the public opinion against them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to respond before we continue with the calls.
What are you saying? The sound is...
They're saying that he slapped the police officer. Mr. Kubal Singh, and they're saying that Minister Warner and his officials had cameras, and that was not captured. I think that's the point that caller was raising.
Well, yes, of course. If as they are now alleging is that Mr. Kubal Singh assaulted a police officer, surely that should have been on the camera. I have just seen for the first time a clip which was shown here. I didn't see all of. Yes, I think I saw where they held him.
Yes, you did.
And where they led him to the car. Yes, right. I didn't see any slapping. But if there is, they should have had it on camera, and he would be charged. I have no doubt that he'd be charged for assaulting a police officer, and they'll bring the camera as evidence.
All right. Let's continue with your call. 665-6278, 665-6278. Caller, good evening. Let's hear your contribution. Go ahead.
Well done. Good evening to Mr. Panday.
Good evening.
In a particular newspaper this morning, there was a certain amount of money paid to a former CEO of a particular bank to the tune of $10 million.
That's right.
Now, the chairperson of that organization said that she does not report to the line minister, if I'm correct, and she does not have to ask the corporation sold anything at all. As a former prime minister, could Mr. Panday clear the air on this as far as what the particular newspaper report said pertaining to a $10 million payout to a former CEO of a particular bank?
Thank you very much. I don't know if you know much about the story.
No, I don't.
Mr. Larry Hawaii, as if you want a parting gift, giving a $10 million package, and the chairman is saying that it is not necessary to ask the line minister permission in that case to give, because that is part of the bank policy.
Yes, yes, I read that.
Right.
I read that. And the minister is saying yes. What the position is that the minister is responsible for indicating to its officers and the state enterprises, whatever they are, the policy direction of the government. And the officers, the chairman, the board, and what have you, are the ones who are supposed to implement that policy. I would agree that there would be no necessity to go to the line minister for every act that the board does.
Even though it's a state-owned bank.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to quickly just touch on it as you brought it up, just quickly say, now, Mr. Alfonso, of course, who's the Nary Alfonso, but the $10 million payout is being questioned by the Banking and Insurance General Workers Union, which represents First Citizens employees. He's basically stating that how you can pay out this amount when FCB workers are, basically asking for an increase. Now, when asked whether First Citizens is bracing for pressure from the union, as negotiations are expected to start soon, Alfonso says even if the union puts pressure on the bank, the board cannot give in. He says unlike other commercial banks, First Citizens is state-owned, and instructions to settle wage negotiations comes from the government. But however, in terms of the payment to Mr. Hawaii, that does not necessarily to go to the line minister.
I think so. The day-to-day activities do not have to be reported to the minister. That's the whole point of having a board and having the minister responsible for policy.
Okay. Let's continue with your call. 665-6278. That's 665-6278. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening.
Pleasant good evening to you. Go ahead.
Mr. Panday, good evening. It's always a pleasure to see you. I must say you look well and keep up the good work. Bye.
All right, thank you very much. And speaking of looking well, there seems to be, I got information from one of our reporters that there seems to be a Facebook page stating that you're recruiting people for a party. Not to switch the focus a bit, but
no, but I'm glad you raised that point, so I have an opportunity to say on television, I know nothing of it. As a matter of fact, I haven't been on that Facebook there for some time. I was busy with other things. And someone told me about it today, that they had seen this. I haven't seen it up to now. No, I don't know what it is. But it's the Facebook is managed by people who may have done that.
So this may be a fake. It may be a fake account, or
no. I don't know. I don't know on which.
You have to see it first.
I don't know on which account it appeared, because there are some fake accounts. I have not seen them, but let me assure you that I have absolutely no such intention.
All right, we'll get to Mr. Basdeo Panday's intention in terms of political life a little later on. Let me continue the few of our calls. 665-6278. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Panday.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, my friend.
Yeah, Mr. Panday, I agree with you when you say that these people should be charged as terrorists. You listening to me?
Yeah, we're listening.
Yeah, because if they were terrorists and the burning of people, they pelting Molotov cocktail in people's place, why Mr. Jack didn't send the police to arrest them and charge them as terrorists? Why it have to be breaking down the place and class them as terrorists? Why they wait so long to deal with this matter in this kind of situation? Why?
Someone agreeing. Thank you very much, caller.
The sound is distorting and
So, yes.
big, isn't it?
No,
so forgive me.
That's okay.
For asking you to.
He's basically stating, repeating what you said. Why didn't the National Security Minister arrest those responsible in the group for the alleged acts of terrorism?
Of course. That's the point I made early on. I agree with you absolutely.
All right. Let's continue with your calls. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. 665-6278. Welcome. Let's hear your contribution.
Sheldon.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
And good afternoon to illustrious Basdeo Panday.
Good afternoon.
As a follower of Basdeo Panday, you know, I always remember one thing Basdeo Panday told me in the what you call years gone by. Now I found Lapai here, and you know, Panday said that Mr. Basdeo Panday said that there's a lot of things. How much publicity you could get, but how much you could achieve. I follow in Mr. Panday's footsteps. And Chief, you know, I want to tell you something. I want to thank you very much because through you, we pay the price as a sugar worker in the days of Patrick Manning. Today we suffer at it. But thank God you've been exonerated and we're happy about what is taking place. But could you tell us in this country, why you can't support this present government? Is there a problem with Kamla Prasad beating you at the polls? Or you have some problems with this government? Because we need your support
First of all,
carry this country forward.
All right.
First of all, let me say thank you very much for your kind sentiment. And secondly, I have no desire, I want nothing from anybody. I speak of what I believe to be true and what I believe to be correct. If I'm wrong, then I ask to be forgiven. If I'm mistaken, I also ask to be forgiven. But surely, if my opinion is asked on any matter, I owe it to people to say what I believe. Whether it is right or wrong, that's another matter. If I believe that and truthfully believe what I'm saying, then that is my duty to do so. If it turns out that the people favor that this is against the government, well, so be it.
Lending to what the viewer just stated, what is the relationship now with yourself and the Prime Minister Kamla Prasad?
We are not related.
Well, thanks for clearing that up. I guess I got my answer, and so did the viewers. Let's continue with your calls. Caller, you're here. Welcome to the program. Hey, Mr. Caller. 665, they're not related. 665-6278. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Pleasant good evening.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yes, good evening. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good evening. So we're hearing you. Go ahead.
You see the co-housing problem that have up there? What I think about, and I will agree, if the government will build the houses for the people who are over 55, just moving them and giving them money to go and employ people at that age is a bit hard. But our country is a lawless society. And a lot of people, they are using the democracy to make it lawless, more lawless. And believe me, Sheldon, if Lucifer could come here and fix the crime, I will welcome it. Because our citizens, we have no respect for law and order whatsoever. And unless we don't have somebody that have a strong hand to take a grip of this crime situation, we will never get out of it. Name a country in the Caribbean that have the kind of crime we have. None.
Thank you.
I agree with you absolutely. All I say that what you do, there are several ways of doing it. Wouldn't it have been much better in this case if a court order had been made for these people to be removed? They are served with the court order, and the police come, I don't see what they need for the army, but the police comes at a reasonable time in the day and move them. That's in accordance with the law. And if you're talking about having a lawful society, then everybody must obey the law. And even the minister must obey the law.
So are you saying an extension based on what you said that the minister broke the law?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I think the people who are involved would do what they believe to be legally necessary. But whether it is legal or not what he did, the manner in which you do things are also important. And it was done in a manner which, and the timing of it, the manner in which it was done indicates something else than merely upholding the law. It seems to smell and reek of vindictiveness and spite and malice. It seems because they had given him trouble while he was a minister of works. It smells of that. That is my complaint. Not that the minister is carrying out the law. That is his job. He must do that.
Let's take one more call before we go to the break, and then I want to switch focus now. Of course, Mr. Panday, of course, is vindicated, of course, around in the case of the London-based bank account. We'll get to that later on, but let's take one more call and then the break and come back with our discussion. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, pleasant good evening. You're on the air. What's the caller? 665-627. Caller, you're on the air. Good evening. Hello. Hi. Good evening. Welcome. Say your contribution, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yes, good evening.
I want to pose a question to Mr. Panday.
Please.
Yeah. You disagree with the time that Mr. Jack Warner was here this morning? National Security Minister. What about he when he was Minister of Works and Minister of Works and 5 o'clock in the morning he used to be all over the place where they protested. What do you have to say about that? Yeah, against the time this morning that he intervened there. What about the time at all them protests with fire burning at 5 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Jack Warner used to be there? We could respond on that.
All right, of course.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much. Defending the minister here, stating that what about all the goodwill that he has done over the past couple of years? The same hour in the morning that we saw him there this morning, attending to those people who have their concerns in their areas in terms of protest. Why not speak about those good deeds and not just focus on this one incident that took place this morning?
Because this is the one that we are talking about. If at 2 o'clock in the morning and he went and fixed a road, that is not the same thing as at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning, invading the camp of people and mashing up their multis and place of worship and that sort of thing. That's not the same thing.
All right. Let's take a short break. Come back. We must switch our focus once again. Right on discussion. Of course, very enlightening discussion indeed, as always, with the former Prime Minister and political leader of the UNC, Mr. Basdeo Panday, right here on 7 Eyewitness News. We'll be right back.
When I say this, I'm addicted to this cricket show.
Don't forget to watch us when we're on the cricket show with Ramdeo. So make sure that you catch the action.
Come into the newest branch of Win Electronics located at Centre City Mall in Chaguanas at telephone 671-5886. Get laptops, cell phone accessories, car archer systems and more. We've also got a wide range of knowledgeable games for the kids with a massive sale on Wii systems, PlayStation 3 consoles, Xbox 360s and Nintendo 3Ds. Get DVD players from $3.99, card decks from $9.99 and home theater systems from $8.99.
Also see our new shipment of HD camcorders camcorders starting from $1,399. Digital cameras, Sony, Samsung, JVC, Panasonic, Olympus and HD cameras available.
So check us out at Win Electronics, our newest branch at Center City Mall in Chaguanas. Telephone 671-5886.
The tourism sector in Tobago is drastically down. Banks are already knocking on hoteliers' doors. So what's next? How are these hotels going to survive? Well, we find out in the next episode of Market to Market, and we also feature the 4-star Magdalena Grand Beach Resort.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Our special guest this evening, Mr. Basdeo Panday. We were talking during the break about smiling in the face of adversity. And Mr. Panday has been known to be that kind of individual over the years. And of course, we're speaking in reference, of course, to being, of course, vindicated, of course, in the case of acquittal of charges, failing to declare the assets of a London-based bank account to the Integrity Commission for 3 years. Your feelings on how everything has basically played out over the years?
Well, it's been a long and hard struggle. I've borne this cross for, 10 years. And not only it has been a heavy burden to carry on like that in the face of that kind of struggle, but it has cost hundreds of thousands of dollars over those 10 years in order for me to defend myself. However, it's all over. I have no bitterness or anything against anybody.
What about the Integrity Commission? How do you feel about the Integrity Commission and all of this?
As you know, this Integrity Commission would not have been the same integrity. Well, let me put it this way. The members of the Integrity Commission now were not the same members of the Integrity Commission when this incident took place.
There are those who've argued, and you look at situations like we call the heart and other issues, there are those who've argued that in this country in particular, once you have a particular stature in society, and therefore you will more than likely be able to escape the strong arms of the law. And there are those who will see this article and say, okay, they're not surprised, stating that even if you will or will not, then therefore, more likely you and others would get. How do you respond to people who have that perception that once you have power in this country, you can get away with anything, or some level of power?
It is a sad situation. And what we need is a system and a society where people feel that they are being treated equally, where people feel they are not being discriminated against. And that is why I've been calling for constitutional reform. I believe there's great need to reform the Constitution so that people begin to feel that they are equal. They begin to feel that not because you're a big shot and so on, you can get away with all kinds of things. They are saying that because the system allows it to happen. I have been calling for constitutional reform for a long time so that we can get rid of these kinds of problems where people feel that they are being discriminated against, that they are being taken advantage of, and that sort of thing.
In the last few minutes of our program this evening, what is the future for Mr. Basdeo Panday?
I intend to live until I die.
Well, that's good.
Of course,
that's important.
Yeah.
Political life, there are many who have believe that you still have some sort of inclination to still keep one foot in politics and one foot outside, just in case,
As I said before, I have always looked at politics as having two dimensions. One is the electoral dimension, electoral politics, where you go for elections and that sort of thing. And the other is non-electoral politics, where you struggle for the improvement and the quality of life of people, even though you are not in Parliament. And I was engaged in that dimension of politics long before I became a member of Parliament. As you know, I was involved with the trade union movement for a very, very long time. And we carried out tremendous struggles, sugar workers who were so poor, living in cart houses and all kind of things like that. We carry out tremendous struggles and improve the quality of their lives. That, for me, is also politics. So there's non-dimensional, non-electoral politics and electoral politics. I have no intentions of re-entering electoral politics, but I shall never leave non-electoral politics.
You're echoing the same sentiments expressed by the former Attorney General, Mr. Ramesh Maharaj, in terms of your relationship with him. How was that relationship? If, well, as you mentioned, in the first instance with the Prime Minister, there's no relation.
But that was a joke, you know that.
I know.
Let me clear it up in case anybody. With the Prime Minister, our paths do not cross. And when our paths cross, as it did at the American function, where the American Symphony Orchestra had come, our paths crossed and we spoke. So our paths do not cross, and there is no meeting, no meeting otherwise than that.
And Mr. Ramesh Maharaj?
With Ramesh, Ramesh has been a colleague of mine for a very, very long time, both in the law and in politics, and we speak on the phone. When your path, but I tell you what, I think the full circle is about to be completed. That is to say, I am thinking of going back into private practice as a lawyer, so that I imagine if I do, Mr. Maharaj and I, our paths will cross more often.
Well, who knows, we might actually see another a partnership, no pun intended.
I hope it is as successful as this one.
Mr. Panday, a pleasure as always coming on the program.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Of course, we had, a wonderful interview, of course, with Mr. Basdeo Panday. Of course, we welcome, of course, your calls. Thank you for your calls this evening on the program. Spirited as usual. Coming next, we have now Evening Edition News at 7 p.m. with Samantha Ranton. I'll be with you again tomorrow. Please go right here on 7 Eyewitness News. Thanks. God bless. Take care of yourselves.